Hello again, everybody. If I can just grab your attention again, you are welcome to keep eating. It's all right if your back's to me, it's okay. He looks guilty. It's all right. You got a thing on your shoulder, though. No, I'm kidding. All right. Again, I want to welcome everybody. Enjoy your lunch. I also want to welcome, we have guests joining us by Zoom right now, so I think they're out there. I hope those of you in Zoom are having like a peanut butter sandwich or something, because you're missing a really nice lunch here. But enjoy yourself. We miss you. Now, some of you may be wondering, who is the Alzheimer's Association? What do they do? And maybe most importantly, why do they have to do what they do? And we want to answer that question. And so we're going to begin this program with a short video. Take a look. And that gives you some of the statistics and facts you probably need to know to explain why it is the association does what it does. I'd like to bring to the stage Delia Gervier. She's the Region 9 leader, executive director of the Alzheimer's Association Illinois chapter. If she would come up, she's a wonderful person. We actually got to meet in person this year. And there she is.
Thank you, Paul. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's so exciting for us to be back in person after being virtual for over 2 years. Some of us might not even know how to act in person. We just kind of stare at each other and say, hi, what do I say, what do I say? For us ladies, putting on shoes this morning may have been, the highlight of the day. I know it was for me putting on makeup. It took a little bit longer than usual, but we are really excited to be back in person and really appreciate you taking the time to be with us this afternoon. As you saw in the video, Alzheimer's is reaching crisis level, which is one of the reasons that your presence here today is so important and so critical to us finding a cure for this terrible disease. Currently in the United States, there are more than 6 million Americans who suffer from this disease. And consequently, there are 11 million individuals who provide unpaid care for their family members suffering from the disease. Its impact right here in Illinois includes about 230,000 people who have Alzheimer's disease, and as a result, 380,000 individuals are providing unpaid care for those who suffer from it. Alzheimer's is a cruel disease, stealing away individuals' livelihoods, hopes, memories, and eventually their lives. 1 in 3 seniors dies with Alzheimer's. It's destroying our families, our finances, and our future. By 2025, now when we used to see the statistics 10 years ago, 2025 felt like very far away. That's only 3 years away now. The number of people 65 years of age who will be suffering from this disease is expected to increase by 13% in just 3 years. On a global level, the Alzheimer's Association is the largest nonprofit funder of research. It has made funding research a priority because without research, we will not be able to find a cure for this disease, nor will we be able to find new treatments for the disease. So currently, the association has more than $300 million invested in over 920 active projects in 45 countries, spanning over 6 continents. That's a lot of research happening funded by the Alzheimer's Association. In the United States, because research is a priority, the Alzheimer's Association has advocated over the last 6 or 7 years to increase funding from at the NIH from what was a mere $400 million to today $3.2 billion with a B. That's from the work of our advocates at the Alzheimer's Association and people like you. And while we advance research towards a cure, the association is here for families who are dealing with this, who are navigating through this journey with our helpline that is available and accessible 24/7, any time of day, including holidays. When you call our 1-800 number, there will always be a live person at the end. There will not be the option to press 1 or 2. You will hear a voice at the end of our helpline. The association also provides education support groups in multiple languages, support groups that are gender specific for men, support groups for members of the LGBTQ community. We provide those services at absolutely no cost to those who need those services the most. And we do so through our fundraising efforts and events like this. So to share more about what the organization does, I would like to welcome to the stage Amy Nolan, who is our volunteer leader and the chair of the Illinois Chapter Board.
Thank you, Delia, and thank you to all of our wonderful attendees for joining us today and to our fantastic co-chairs. We are so pleased to have you with us today. I got involved with the Alzheimer's Association because my mother was diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's at the age of 55 years old. My mother was cared for during a large part of her disease by my beloved grandmother, and in the latter part of her battle, she lived in a facility for 2 years before she finally passed away at the age of 62 years old. After my mother died, my grandmother passed away 10 days later, presumably because her job was done. The experience of that difficult journey made me realize that I wanted to do all I could so that one day others did not have to suffer as my family did. And as I look around the room and I see dear friends and colleagues, I know that they are here because they also have loved ones that are battling the disease or have lost their life, and this is a cause they're passionate about. But there is a lot to be hopeful for. There is so much great work being done to fight Alzheimer's right here in the state of Illinois to help affected families like mine here in our community. Last year, we passed unprecedented legislation, making Illinois the first state in the nation to require regular dementia training for healthcare professionals. Senate Bill, it's a big deal. Senate Bill 677 was a joint initiative with Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, a huge supporter of the association and a caregiver to her own mother, to ensure doctors and all healthcare professionals receive regular dementia training to help people living with dementia receive the diagnosis they need to plan for the future, access vital resources, and participate in cutting-edge clinical trials. And just last week, we passed additional legislation to protect our loved ones. And again, we were the first state in the country to achieve this success. House Bill 4388 requires paramedics in Illinois to receive critical dementia training on a regular basis. And for those of you who have loved ones that you've had to call 911 or have had to be cared by doctors that are unqualified or unfamiliar with the disease, you know how important this legislation is to that initiative. We expect that this bill will be sent to the governor soon to be signed into law. These are just two of the several training bills that we've passed in Illinois as we work to create a dementia-capable state until a cure or a prevention is found. On the research front, there have been some very exciting breakthroughs in recent months as well that have had everyone impacted by Alzheimer's feeling hopeful. None of these advances would have been possible without the work and investment of the Alzheimer's Association. As Delia mentioned, we are the world's largest nonprofit funder of Alzheimer's research, and we have played a vital role in every significant development in the field. This summer, we saw a new era in Alzheimer's treatment when the US Food and Drug Administration granted accelerated approval for aducanumab, the first drug to address the underlying biology of the disease. The milestone was made possible thanks to decades of investment in research led by the association, along with our grassroots advocacy on behalf of millions of Americans that are facing this disease. This groundbreaking treatment is likely to be just the first in many more to come. And in fact, there are several other Alzheimer's drugs that are currently in clinical trial that researchers are hopeful will lead to even more effective treatments. And recently, the association collaborated with an anonymous donor to develop the Alzheimer's Disease Strategic Fund, which supports teams of dementia scientists from around the world who are exploring promising research areas which are too complex for individual researchers to take on alone. And further, a long-standing issue in clinical trials is a lack of diversity. So to help ensure that scientific breakthroughs are benefiting and are accessible to all people, the association expanded its Alzheimer's diagnosis study, IDEAS, into New Ideas, which focuses on recruiting Black and Hispanic participants at 350 sites around the country. In the last fiscal year alone, our research investment has reached an unprecedented level of $70 million. All of this work is funded entirely by donations from people like you, and you are making a difference. So now I would like to invite Dr. Xiaoran Liu to the stage. Dr. Xiaoran is from Rush University Medical Center here in Chicago. So if she could please join me. So on behalf of the association, we are pleased to award an Alzheimer's Association International Research Grant for $150,000 to Dr. Liu for her clinical research on the role of diet and nutrition in the prevention of Alzheimer's disease. So Dr. Liu's work focuses on delineating the potential mechanistic pathway by which diets or nutrients, and that was a mouthful, on which diets or nutrients are protective against cognitive decline to better inform tailored delivery recommendations for high-risk populations to prevent Alzheimer's disease. Congratulations, Dr. Liu. We look forward to seeing the results. From your important work that will advance our knowledge and understanding of Alzheimer's. Thank you.
Congratulations, doctor. Good luck fitting that thing into an ATM to deposit it. I am pleased to introduce a volunteer doing amazing work for the Alzheimer's Association. Please welcome, say hello to, Brian Adamick. There you are.
My camera is covered by the microphone, so there we go. Thank you all for having me. My name is Brian Adamick. You don't know me quite yet, so let me just introduce myself briefly. My wife, Mandy, is here today, as well as my aunt, Darlene Lorman. We have two kids, Mandy and I, Emery, who's 7 years old, Elliot, who's 5 years old. And by day, I'm a supply chain and logistics professional. Spent the last 21 years working for PepsiCo, as well as more recently C.H. Robinson. By night, I play some music. It's my passion. I write, I play, and I sing for a band called The Strugs in Chicago here. Paul plugged his TV show, 9 o'clock WGN, Sunday morning. I wanted to also plug our music is available on Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. So the reason I'm here today is because my family, like many of yours, have dealt with Alzheimer's disease. For us, it's been over 30 years. And over those 30 years and more recently specifically, it's been part of my goal in life to try to put an end to Alzheimer's, do what I can, specifically for the next generation of people. When I was young, my grandfather, Frank Lorman, who's pictured here with his wife, Dorothy, he had Alzheimer's basically in his early 70s, as he was a proud man, Army veteran, World War II service, worked for Sears Roebuck and Company, played the banjo, played the guitar. Part of, Bears fan, obviously. This is from the Super Bowl party in '85, which I got to go to. It might be my last time seeing the Bears win the Super Bowl, so gotta love Grandpa for that. Excuse me. But Grandpa became a shell of his proud self as Alzheimer's took over, and it was tough for me, and it's tough for my family as a little kid, thinking to myself, man, this is gonna potentially be passed down in the family. I don't want Aunt Dar to have Alzheimer's. I don't want my mom to have Alzheimer's. And there's not a cure at this point. So my parents were really nice about it. They said, hey, we got 25, 30 years till we get to that point, right? There's time, there's a lot of doctors or scientists, everyone's working on this. My mom's 72 years old now. She's in a nursing home, 10 years into an Alzheimer's diagnosis. She was a teacher since 22 years old, very passionate about English, Shakespeare. She most recently taught English as a second language, but also has been in religious education over the years. And she, unfortunately, like my grandfather, is a shell of herself now. My dad, pictured in this photo, has had a really tough time over the last 3 years specifically. He's been married to her for 50 years. This is his first time living at home by himself. The Alzheimer's Association has stepped in to help. My dad's been able to leverage some of the programs that have been out there, support groups, the helpline that we talked about earlier. And so we're grateful for that. The big thing though is that next generation, right? How do we answer our kids now? How do I say to my kids, everything's gonna be okay? How do you guys say to your kids, everything's gonna be okay, or your grandkids, whatever the case might be? I don't know that we could 100% say that yet, so we have to keep taking action. And so I've been able over the last 3 years to work with my band. They've been super supportive to make sure that we're doing something. We've been raising funds at different events over the last 3 years. Last year, probably the most fun. We had done a tour of the Midwest, Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, playing people's garages because we couldn't get into clubs because of, whatever. We couldn't get into clubs. It was one of those, people weren't going into clubs quite yet in 2021. So, but we had a great time, raised over $18,000, met some great people along the way. So thank you. This past fall, we were invited to play the Walk to End Alzheimer's at just outside Soldier Field. You can see my kids here with their Promise Garden flowers, and they understand what that means now. They got a better understanding of what the association does, as well as what the disease is and the dangers of it. And I can't tell them everything's gonna be perfect, but what I can tell them is that we're doing our best, and this is awesome to have this room of folks that are supportive. And so thank you for being here. I know everybody's in their own financial situations, but please donate what you can today. And thanks for listening to my story.
Thank you, Brian. I'm so glad you're on Spotify because I was about to map quest to a garage in Iowa to go hear you guys. If you would, please help me in welcoming Miguel Agamez to the stage. Miguel. Miguel, there he is.
Hello, my name is Miguel. I'm originally from Mexico. I came to United States when I was 13 years old. I have a wife. I have been married for 40 years. Together we have 3 children. Miguel Jr., who is 39, has given me 4 grandchildren. We'll be getting married next year. Heather, who is 33, next to me as well, and has given me 4 grandchildren. And the youngest, Brian, who is 31, and he's married as well. And now, no grandchildren yet. So I hope soon he'll give me some. I started noticing changes the summer of 2020. I was forgetting a lot of things, mainly conversations and things that I say. I was easily irritated and moody. My wife and my daughter will tell me I say something and I couldn't remember what it was all about. That's when my wife decided to make a call to our doctor, and then is when all the appointments and tests began and led up to getting the diagnosis of Alzheimer's. We got the diagnosis for the Alzheimer's dementia a little after the New Year. This was at first, I wasn't sure how to process what I was told to us. Then I told my wife that I'm going to fight and do everything that I can to make the most of the life that I do have left. Alzheimer's has affected my relationship, I will say, for the better. My family is truly value the time that we have together and really make most of every moment that God has given to share together. Changes that have occurred since receiving the diagnosis are really that are of trying to take better care of overall of my health. I'll try to do things to keep my brain active. I really just trying to do things that bring me joy. The biggest fears are putting my family through the rough time. Knowing I don't ever want to see them hurt, or knowing that one day I could remember them or not be able to care for myself, or that really hurts me. We got involved with the Alzheimer's Association through our care consultant. We had a session with her and she suggested to getting involved with support groups because it's good to be around people who are in the same boat. It gives a sense of comfort, knowing you and your family are not alone and that are other families who understand. My reason for hope is my family. I know God still has me around for a reason, and I'm going to give him thanks every day that I get to have to spend with them. I have beautiful memories this far, and have faith that I still have many more to create. Thank you.
He was my water delivery guy for a store that I ran in Watertown, jewelry store. I'd see him once a month, say hi, that was it. And then one day, we had a special event at the store and I was wearing a red silk dress and that was it. It just seemed like there wasn't even a question. Like I was the one for him and that was gonna be it. And it was true. We're married. I decide I'm gonna go to nursing school and I'm pregnant. 3 redheaded Irish babies in 15 months' time. And then Amanda came into our life. We bought this house and we've been here ever since. Paulie went first and then Kevin and Brian went to school as well. So for the first time in who knows how many years, the house was quiet, it was clean, and he really struggled. And of course, we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do. Those kids graduated high school. They're supposed to go to colleges. They're supposed to travel. I was ready for this part of my life. And that became a big strain for us. So around that time, I said, listen, we have to talk. We were out in the yard. It was gorgeous. We were on the swing. I said to him that something was wrong. Like, what can I do? He just kind of looked off. Now I'm getting tearful because I'm like, do you just not know how to tell me that we're done? Nothing. And I start to cry. And gets up off the swing. He walks into the house, shuts the door, and locks me out. So I'm sitting there sobbing, and I'm like, oh my God, what just happened here? I get up and I go in the house, and he's watching TV, totally not affected by anything that just happened. And that was absolutely not him. And then that's where it all started. We saw a neurologist because he was forgetting things and he was struggling at work, and he went on an antidepressant and it didn't touch him. And at the same time, so he's getting counseling, scans, neuropsych eval, because I'm pushing them and pushing them. And I said, I'm not saying it as a nurse, I'm saying it because I've been with this guy since I was 21 years old. There's something wrong. Our neurologist happened to be pregnant. She said she was gonna go on a leave, and she goes, we gotta do something. I said, great. She goes, let's get a PET scan. And I'm like, you think he has cancer? And she said, no, but we need to probably just look at it. And I go, absolutely, let's do it. We get the results a couple days later, and she's like, well, it's abnormal. And I go, oh. And she goes, well, your husband either has frontal temporal dementia or he has Alzheimer's. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't really on our radar. We get the diagnosis, sometime later that it was more Alzheimer's than FTD. And now I'm like, okay, let's go. What's next? So Paul went to work the next morning. I sat here and had a good old-fashioned cry for myself, and I really didn't know what to do. So I called the Alzheimer's Association, and I get this wonderful woman on the phone, and I feel like I've got it together. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And so she tells me, I'll send you the package. Take a breath. We're gonna help you. She was so supportive. And I'm sobbing and I'm sobbing. She's like, oh my God. I go, wait, just give me a second. And I pull it together. I'm like, okay, go. What's next? And literally, like a checklist, I went through it without even thinking about it. I just trusted this person on the other end of the phone who obviously knew way more than me. And, since then, I've called when I have a thought at 2 o'clock in the morning, if I haven't slept, and I'm like, what do I do next? It's everything. It's from financial questions, it's our future, it's long-term care questions. I don't know what I would have done without that support. He's changing every day. It's very different than it was, just a few months ago even. I do all of his care, get him in the shower, I get him fully dressed. Shaving is quite a challenge, but he has to look good. Like, I have to have that man looking good because he was like that. And the whole time he's talking to me like, what are you doing that for? Where are we going? I know what I'm doing, Nikki. I can do this. But then he can't, and he doesn't. And so I just say, of course you can, but let me just do this thing for you. As he progresses, my biggest concern is that he become unsafe. And as he is getting so much worse just in the last few months, I called the Alzheimer's Association the other day and I said, how do I pick a long-term care facility? They think he's ready now, and I'm just not. But I don't want him to get hurt because I kept him home longer. And I feel like, when he goes, he's not gonna last very long. So for me to say, okay, it's time, I almost feel like that's me saying, he does have these periods, and from what I understand, other people have them too. It just poof, he's there and then poof, gone. But I'm telling you, he was there for a minute. I didn't even have to see him. He said, hey, baby. And I was like, hey. like just the way he said it. And I was driving and he put his hand on my leg. I'm like, oh my God, he's here. I was just so glad that I thought to ask him right away. I said, Paul, is there anything we haven't done? He's like, what? And I go, anything. Anywhere you want to go, any place you haven't seen with me, anything you want to do. And I thought I lost him, but he was thinking. And he looks at me and I'm trying to drive the car and he's like, I just want to spend the next 30 years with you. And I'm like, okay, that was too much. And I said, we don't have 30 years. The doctor just told me I only have 6 months. So like, what do you want to do? And he kind of chuckled. He goes, just as long as I'm with you. And that was it, he was gone. I'll wait for the next one, you know, and see what I get. And so you live for that.
Not very fair. I know. So I'm Jennifer Convery, and this is Jennifer Keeney, and we're co-hosting for the second year in a row, and today's the first day we've met in person. Well, I did get dressed up this morning because I was so grateful that all of you were going to make it here. Jennifer and I are just so proud that we can be hosting this and that we have so many people virtually joining us too. So thank you so much. I did get dressed up too. I put on a little makeup, but I knew not to wear mascara today. You know what? I'm learning a little bit as I get older. Why am I so passionate about the Alzheimer's Association? My dad passed from it. He had for over a decade. And after my dad died, my mom died about 9 months later. It still stinks. But if we can make a difference for somebody else, if we could just be that little ray of sunshine, the support, if I can just earn $1 more to help for that phone call at 2 in the morning when someone needs somebody on the line in person and not press 2, press 4, right? We need that for each other. This is a disease that we need to get rid of. My dream is to have a world without Alzheimer's. So Jennifer, now it's your turn to talk for a little bit.
Hi, everybody. I too have been affected by the disease. I lost my father in 2014 after about 10 years as well. I was telling somebody at our table today that I found out about the Alzheimer's Association after he passed away and realized how many things I missed out on that would have been so much easier for my mother and my sister and I as we tried to limp through the process together. My sister is now also living with the disease. I think she might be on today, so I got to do a little wave to her, as well as my nieces and nephews who surround her and support her through the disease. But we're just an example. I know many of you, I see the tears in the room, have either been affected personally or know somebody maybe indirectly, and so we're going to do a little experiment. So I'd first like to recognize our board members. If you could please stand and stay standing as we go through this process. So let's see, I can't see because of the light, but I think there's a few of you around. Okay, so now I'd like you to stand if you have lost someone to the disease, whether Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. Wow. Ooh. Okay, so now are you a supporter or caregiver of someone who is living with the disease? Some of you may be still standing because you're that as well. How many of you are working with families who are affected by the disease and supporting them? okay? And how many of you have Alzheimer's or dementia, or are worried about the fact that you might get the disease?
Everybody.
Thank you. You can all be seated now.
Okay, so here comes the ask. Everybody stood up in one way or another. I think you've heard today of all the great support that this association can give, whether it's through research of actually finding a cure or helping to prevent it. The support that's needed for so many individuals that are currently struggling with Alzheimer's and those caregivers, it's absolutely essential. So what I'm going to ask today is for everybody to take their phone out. I know it's not too far. Come on. We know it's not too far. We do have table hosts to help. But if you could go to Reason to Hope 22, that's Reason to Hope 22, it's up on the screens too, .givesmart.com. Or for my texters, all right, you can go to Reason to Hope 22 to 76278, or text Reason to Hope 22 to 76278. The screen's real clear, I think. And if you would be so generous to help us, we would really appreciate it. And there's great news, and that is that the McDonough Foundation and also the Make It Better Media Group, thank you, Susan Noyes, very much. We will double your donation day. So if you give 2,000, it'll be 4. If you give 2,000, Kevin, it'll be 4. Kevin, if you give 10, it'll be 20, honey. Okay. I know if anyway, so anyway, so we just want to thank you for donating. We know it's a lot to ask, but at the same time, look what people are going through. And we promise you this money is used so well. You heard Amy speak about how it's used, how we're fighting, whether it's for the different regulations, the research, etc. And thank you again for joining us today. We so appreciate it. Did you want to say anything else, Jen?
No, we'll just give everybody a few minutes. I actually need to go do my table host duty.
Oh, she's going to do her day, and pull your phone out, please. I also just want to say thank you again to all the sponsors who have sponsored us. And in addition, so many people online who are currently giving and who also gave ahead of time who couldn't be here today or chose just was sort of getting used to being back in person. So thanks again. Just want to make sure it's working for everybody. There are paper forms too. If you prefer to write a check, that's no problem at all. You can do that. So whatever works. Okay, Paul?
While you're doing that, your donations, and yes, I've done mine. Thank you all for coming today and for helping the millions of Americans with Alzheimer's disease, the O'Callahans that we've lost, the relatives we've lost. And one more time, let's give a round of applause for Miguel, because that's who we're going to help. If you're interested in learning more about the organization and events, there's flyers, there's all sorts of things on a table out there, so feel free to check that out. Imagine the difference you would make if you became a table host next year. So if you wanted to do that, please check with your table host or somebody from the association, and they'll help you do that. And finally, the flowers on the table, the beautiful purple flowers. I know many of us are wearing purple. I even have it in my socks. They are yours to take. We encourage arm wrestling to determine who at the table will be able to walk with them. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and thank you for supporting the important work of the association.